So we'll first discuss how to solve for the variable algebraically. We'll then discuss how to factor the polynomial that you were left with. And then we'll wrap things up by discussing how to solve for the variable by utilizing the quadratic formula. So let's first discuss how to solve for the variable algebraically. So to find the solution algebraically, once the radical signs are removed, if the variable only appears once in the equation, then solve the equation by isolating the variable on one side of the equation. So let's say you started off with the square root of x squared minus 7 plus 13 is equal to 8. Once the radical sign is removed, you are left with x squared minus 7 is equal to 25. So the variable x only appears once. So we first isolate it on the left side of the equation, so you would add 7 to both sides. And now, since x is on the left side and we have a constant on the right side, we can remove the exponent 2 by taking the square root of both sides. So you would be left with x is equal to 4 radical 2. You remove the radical sign, and if the variable appears once, you isolate that variable on one side of the equation and solve for it with an exponent or power of 1. Let's take a look at a question that had two radical signs. So we had the square root of 2x plus 9 minus the square root of 101x is equal to 0. So we want to isolate the first radical. So we add the second radical to both sides. That leaves you with the square root of 2x plus 9 is equal to the square root of 101x. To get rid of this radical sign, you want to raise both sides to a power of 2. This actually removes both radical signs at the same time. This only happened because our constant here was 0. If we had another number such as 1 plus this, then we'd have to use the FOIL method to expand this. But I just want to show you an example so that you could see that you can be given two radical signs and you may be able to get rid of both of them at the same time. So that would leave you with 2x plus 9 is equal to 101x. Now the variable appears twice here, but since you can subtract 2x from both sides, that would leave you with 9 on the left side, and 101x minus 2x would leave you with 99x on the right side. So once your radical signs are removed, if the variables are to the same order, this has a power of 1, this has a power of 1, those like terms can be combined, and then you'll see that the variable appears once. Okay, once they're combined. And now we can go ahead isolating it. So since this has a coefficient of 99, we want to divide both sides by 99 to get rid of it, leaving you with x is equal to 9 over 99, which is equal to x is equal to 1 over 11, which is equal to 0.09. So the answer is x is equal to 0.09. And then step 5, to check this answer, plug it into the original equation. So the original equation was the square root of 2x plus 9 minus the square root of 101x is equal to 0. We plug in 0.09 in both places where we see x. 2 times 0.09 is 0.18 plus 9. 101 times 0.09 gives you 9.18. So that leaves you with the square root of 9.18 minus the square root of 9.18. Anything minus itself is 0, confirming that the left side of the equation is equal to the right side. So the answer x is equal to 0.09 is correct. Let's have you do a few practice questions now. Solve for x and check the answer. Question number 1. The square root of x plus 5 minus 8 is equal to 22. Question number 2. the square root of 12 minus x plus 7 is equal to 14. And question number 3, the square root of x plus 3 minus the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 5. Pause the video, answer these questions, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Question number 1, we were given radical x plus 5 minus 8 is equal to 22. You want to isolate the radical, so you remove the constant on the same side as the radical. So step 1, add 8 to both sides. Negative 8 and positive 8 cancel, leaving you with just radical x plus 5 on the left side. And on the right side, you have 22 plus 8, which gives you 30. And now to remove this radical sign, since the index is 2, you want to raise both sides to a power of 2. That 2 and this 2 cancel each other out, leaving you with just x plus 5 on the left side. Since you squared the left side, you have to square the right side. 30 squared is equal to 900. Now that our radical sign is removed, we can solve for x algebraically by subtracting 5 from both sides. So that's step 3, leaving you with x on the left side and 900 minus 5, which is 895 on the right side. So the answer to question number 1 is x is equal to 895. And then step 4, check the answer by plugging it into the original equation. The square root of x plus 5 minus 8 is equal to 22. We plug in 895 for x. 895 plus 5 is 900. The square root of 900 is 30. 30 minus 8 is equal to 22. So since the left side equals the right side, that confirms that x is equal to 895. Let's take a look at question number 2. The square root of 12 minus x plus 7 is equal to 14. Step 1, subtract 7 from both sides, leaving you with just the radical on the left side, and 14 minus 7, which is 7 on the right side. Since the index here is 2, to remove this radical sign, you want to raise both sides of the equation to a power of 2. That leaves you with 12 minus x on the left side and 7 squared, which is 49 on the right side. So now we can solve for x. So first, let's subtract 12 from both sides. When we do that, we have negative x is equal to 49 minus 12, which is 37. To remove this negative, we can multiply both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative x is x. Since you multiply the left side by negative 1, we have to multiply the right side by negative 1 also to keep the equation balanced. So we wind up with x is equal to negative 37. And then step 5, check the answer by plugging it into the original equation. Radical 12 minus x plus 7 is equal to 14. When we plug in negative 37 for x, we wind up with 12 minus negative 37. Minus a negative becomes plus. 12 plus 37 gives you 49. The square root of 49 is equal to 7. 7 plus 7 does equal 14. So since the left side equals the right side, this confirms that x does equal negative 37. Question number 3, we were given the square root of x plus 23 minus the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 5. To isolate the first radical, step 1, add the second radical to both sides. These cancel each other out, leaving you with just the square root of x plus 23 on the left side. And on the right side, we have 5 plus the square root of x minus 7. So now that we've successfully isolated this first radical, to remove it, we raise both sides to a power of 2. And that leaves you with x plus 23 on the left side is equal to 5 plus the square root of x minus 7 squared on the right side. So now we will need to use the FOIL method to expand this expression. 5 times 5 gives you 25. 5 times the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 5 radical x minus 7. When we do that again, 5 times radical x minus 7, we add this 5 to the previous 5, giving us 10 radical x minus 7. And then you multiply the last terms, radical x minus 7 times itself, radical x minus 7, leaves you with just the radicand, x minus 7. 25 minus 7 would be 18. So we want to move that 18 to this side and this x to this side, so that leaves you with just the second radical on the right side. So step 4, subtract x from both sides. X minus x is 0x. And then step 5, the 25 minus 7 again gives us 18. So step 5 is subtract 18 from both sides. 23 minus 18 gives you 5. So once we remove the first radical and move the other terms to the left side, we are left with 5 is equal to 10 radical x minus 7. And now step 6, raise both sides to a power of 2 to get rid of this radical. When we do so, 5 squared equals 25. And on the right side, 10 squared equals 100. The radical times itself gives us x minus 7. We have to distribute this 100 to the x. So we get 100x. N to the negative 7. So you get negative 700. And now we can solve for x. Step 7. So we have 25 is equal to 100x minus 700. X appears once, so we can solve for x. First, remove the constant. So we add 700 to both sides. 25 plus 700 is 725. To get rid of the coefficient 100, we divide both sides by 100. 725 divided by 100 is 7.25. So the answer to question number 3 is x is equal to 7.25. Then lastly, step 8, check the answer by plugging it into the original equation. The square root of x plus 23 minus the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 5. When you plug in 7.25 in both places where you see x, you wind up with 7.25 plus 23, which gives you radical 30.25. The square root of 30.25 is 5.5. And our second radical term, 7.25 minus 7, is square root of 0.25. And the square root of 0.25 is 0.5. So we wind up with 5.5 minus 1/2, which is equal to 5. Confirming that the left side of the equation equals the right side, which means x is equal to 7.25.